I'm Charles with Rocky Mountain ATV MC. Today I'm going to show you how to install a Tusk UTV Stage 3 upgrade kit on your Can-Am Maverick X3. Now these kits are simple to install. This is the premium kit out of your 3 options, and it's an easy way to get some of the most popular accessories installed on your machine. It's going to help it stand out and look good, and it's going to give you some added protection and comfort. So what this kit includes is your full glass windshield, the pivot folding mirrors with A-pillar mounts, Polycarb rear window, you've got a cargo barricade, and some lower door inserts. So again, all of this stuff is easy to install, so let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start out with the Polycarb rear window. We've laid out a blanket so this doesn't get scratched, and I'm wearing rubber gloves so I don't get my fingerprints all over it. So all we need to do to prep this is remove the protective coating from both sides. We're going to start the install process with the rear window. So the first thing you want to do is get the 24-inch piece of foam tape out of your kit, and we're going to install this across that horizontal roll cage bar. And if you have any extra foam tape, you can simply cut it off. And this is just going to help take up any vibration between that rear window and your roll cage. Now to install the rear window, you need to install one side first, and you're going to have to bend this just a little bit to get it down into place. And then we've got the 8 hook and loop straps. We're going to loosely install those all the way around and then make our final adjustments, and we'll tighten them down. Next, we're going to install the mirror mounts and our mirrors. The driver's side mirror mount is going to be different than the passenger side. Passenger side, it's going to bend out away from the machine just a little bit. So to install the driver's side mount, what we're going to do is take 2 of the long bolts that came in the kit. We'll go through the mount, and then there's these 2 holes that are already in your frame. We're going to go straight through those. Then we've got a washer on the other side of these bolts, and then we'll install the 2 nylock nuts. We'll position the mount where we want it. Now for the mirrors, you need to remove the bolt out of the end along with that lock washer. Then we're going to slide this in place, and we're going to thread this into the mirror. So you've got the right and the left side mirrors. Just make sure that the logo is in the correct orientation. Once you have the bolt threaded into the mirror, put the mirror where you want it and tighten the bolt down. And tighten the hardware down. And then we can do these same steps on the other side. Moving on to the full glass windshield, we're going to assemble the vent brackets first. So we're going to start with the left-hand assembly. So right here we've got bracket A and bracket B. We're going to connect those using our knob and friction washer. And bracket B, this little curve right here, is going to face away from the friction knob. We're going through this slot. On the other side, you've got the friction washer. Screw that into bracket A. And this is bracket C. That 90-degree bend, that's going to face away from that knob as well. And we're just going to use an M6 by 16 button head bolt. We'll go through bracket B, then C, and install the nylock nut. And we're going to leave all the hardware loose. And since this one's prepped, we'll go ahead and prep the right-hand bracket as well. On top of the vent door, we already have 2 M5 bolts and nylocks going through there, nylock nuts. We're just going to take that bracket we pre-assembled, set it on the bolts, and reinstall those nylocks. And then back with the M6 by 16 millimeter button head bolts, I'm going to push the door up, come through the front, and go through bracket C. And again, use a nylock nut. We'll do that in both locations and on the other side. With everything loosely installed, we need to go ahead and tighten down all of the hardware, and we're going to make adjustments as we go. Now the main thing to pay attention to is this pivot bolt. You want to tighten that until it lightly seats, and then back it off about 1/8 or 1/4 of a turn. Then just verify everything works correctly. Next, we'll take the supplied foam tape, and we're going to apply that to the sides and bottom of the inside of the windshield. Just keep in mind, you don't want to cover up any mounting holes. The next step is to mount up the windshield wiper. So we're going to install this closer to the driver's side. So we need to remove this plug. You just press in on the tabs, it'll pop right out. Then we need to remove the handle from the mount. So we'll remove that smaller nut. On the mount, remove one of the nuts, the washer, and a rubber grommet. Then you can install the mount through the hole and reinstall the rubber grommet, washer, and nut on the other side. And you can use a 17mm wrench on each side to snug this down. Then the handle is going to go through the back side, but we're going to flip the windshield over so you can see what's going on the other side. Now with that flipped over, before we put that handle through, what we're going to do is take the windshield wiper. You need to pop up this cover right here. There's two little tabs, press in on those. Take the wiper arm, stick it through there. Then you're just going to hook this onto the wiper, clip that cover into place. The next step is to pop up your cover, and then you'll notice there's splines in this handle. Once this goes through your mount, you want to make sure that those splines are lined up with this wiper arm, and then I like to have this handle lined up with the wiper arm as well. Then you just want to reinstall the nut and snug it down. Now we need to prep the clamps, so I'm going to take all of these apart. So we've got this bolt on top with the washer. We're not going to reuse this bolt, but we will reuse the washer. And we've got the two on the back. So now we're ready to install half of the clamp to our windshield. We've raised it off the ground with a couple wooden blocks. Now, this bolt that came out of the front of the clamp with the washer, you're going to be replacing that one with an M8 by 20mm button head bolt. And we're just coming through the front of the windshield. We're going to install the spacer. So this is going to be on both sides and on the tops. The bottoms are going to be left blank. The clamping surface is going to be towards the outside of the windshield. And just leave the bolt loose enough that you can make adjustments. To get the windshield installed, we need to install some J-nut clips. We're going to start out by removing screws on top of the dash with a T30 Torx bit. Then you'll notice these two dimples underneath the dash panel we just removed the screws from. We're going to drill out the outer dimple on each side of the machine. We're going to use an 11/32 inch drill bit. Then you've got two push rivets we're going to take out as well. The next step is to lift up the dash just far enough to install the J-nut. I'm using a paint pen to hold that up. And then I'm just going to use some needle nose pliers to help guide this into place. Once you have that done on both sides, you can go ahead and reinstall the 4 trim clips and the 6 mounting screws. To install your windshield, you need to temporarily remove your roof. So what you want to do is disconnect the 4 quick release tabs. And we're just going to slide it back about a foot. And when you lift the roof up, you want to keep track of the 4 foam pads underneath. After that, you want to have a friend help you set the windshield in place. And with all of the clamps sitting in the correct positions on the roll cage, you want to loosely install the back sides of the clamps. Next, you want to adjust your windshield both side to side and up and down to make sure it's centered up. And then you can install your M6 by 25mm button head bolts with the M6 washers in the front 2 mounting locations. Once you have all of the hardware loosely installed, make any final adjustments and tighten it all down. And you always want to tighten the front side of the clamps first. Once everything's tightened down, you can reinstall your roof. To prep the cargo barricade, what you're going to do first is install the trim across this top edge. Now with this, if it fits loose at any point, you can simply pinch this together and press it back on for a tighter fit. Next, we need to install the left and right brackets. So how you tell you have the right one in the correct spot is the wider slots. Those are going to go against the Barricade, and the slant is going to face down and towards the back of the Barricade. You're just going to use 2 of the M6x16 button head bolts. We'll go through the Barricade, through that bracket, and then we've got a nylock nut on the front side. We'll do the same thing on the other side. Then we're going to leave the hardware just loose enough that you can make adjustments with the bracket still. Next, we're going to install the cargo Barricade. So we need to start out by removing this shroud, and we're going to use a T30 Torx bit to remove the 5 bolts that are in it. Next, we need to remove the tail lights on both sides. So I'm going to start by disconnecting the electrical connector. Then we've got 2 T20 Torx bit screws on the bottom and 2 T30 screws on the top. Then you'll want to use your T30 and a 10 mil to remove the 2 bolts at the back of the bed. Now we're going to set the cargo Barricade into place, and we're going to use those same 2 mounting screws that we just removed. And we're going to go ahead and tighten this hardware down. The next step is to adjust these side mounting brackets so they sit flush against the bed right here. Once you have them where you want them, you can use a Sharpie to mark these mounting holes. We'll do the same thing on the other side. Then we're going to remove those brackets and use the supply drill bit to drill those mounting locations out. Then we can reinstall the bracket. We've got the 2 M6x16mm button head bolts that are going to go through the sides. Then you've got your flat washer and nylock nut on the other side. And we're going to tighten that hardware down and then do those same steps on the other side. Next, we need to install the taillights and the rear shroud. Now for the lower door inserts, we need to remove this stock triangle piece. Now for the lower door insert, we've got 3 mounting bolts. We're going to take all of those out along with the collar. Now with one of the longer bolts, I have the collar on it already. I'm going to go through the middle mount, and all of these holes already exist on the door. Then we've got our nylock nut on the bottom. In the front is the other long bolt. Then in the back, we're using the short bolt. And instead of the nylock nut, we're using the silver threaded nut insert. The flat side's going to face up. Now we're going to start tightening down all of the hardware, and we're going to leave it just loose enough that we can slide the door insert side to side. Next, I'm going to close the door and I'm going to adjust it for the best fitment. Once you've done that, you can open the door back up and tighten down your hardware. Then we'll do the same thing on the other side. And that's it for the Tusk UTV Stage 3 Upgrade Kit for your Can-Am Maverick X3. If you have any questions about the kit or the install process, leave those down in the comments below. And if you need to snag one of these kits up, they're available on our website. They qualify for free shipping, so go check that out. And if you want to see more helpful content like this, subscribe to our channel. I'm Charles with Rocky Mountain ATV MC. Thanks for watching.